Basically, drowning is the number 1 cause of fatality for children under the age of 4, and it's the number 2 cause of accidental death for children above the age of 5.
What is the age range of your clientele?
Hey everybody, Matt and Jennifer back again with another Zora Zoom, and today we are featuring British Swim School, and we have Rita here. Before I get started, this is a great brand. There's no brick and mortar. You can be open in less than 100 days, and their top performer grossed over 2.6 million last year with a 28% margin. So, and you save lives to boot. So, hey, Rita, tell us a little bit about British Swim School and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So I'm Rita Iglesias, part of the Buzz Franchise Brands team. One of our babies that we're so proud of is, of course, British Swim School. It's a very mission-based, purpose-driven concept and brand. It is a model that is easy to get set up and execute thanks to the fact that we have no brick and mortar. So the overhead expense of, investing up to $1 million in building out a pool is not necessary. Instead, what really differentiates us is that we partner with already existing facilities. So we like to kind of take that field of dreams mentality of like, if you build it, they will come. They built it, so let's go to them. So we partner with fitness centers. In fact, we have some nationwide accounts with quite a few different fitness partners, so that allows us the opportunity of being able to actually work with them. In addition to that, hotels are great. I mean, most suburban communities are not having major pool parties in the middle of the week at, Hilton Garden Inn.
Right.
So those are great places to be able to work with. Plus, a lot of community centers. Your local community pools, senior rec centers. Senior rec
Okay.
centers are fantastic to partner with as well. So there's so many different options of what you could work with, that really takes away not only, again, that overhead expense, but also allows you the opportunity of having scalability and flexibility. You can lean into different areas within the community, different places that you can, set yourself up in partnership with. We don't have a maximum on that. So, some of our owners will have 3, 4 pools within one territory, really not only allowing them that, again, that revenue scalability, but just any parent knows getting out of work, going to pick up your kid after school, and then having to drive 30 minutes for whatever they need, be there 30, come back home another 30 minutes, bed, dinner, bath, all those things that have to happen. It's just too much in one evening or day. So we want to make it where the parent might be able to find that pool, 10, 15-minute drive at best. Oh,
Well, I
please
was
go
going to
ahead.
say, I would think that the facilities would like it too, because now they're receiving some revenue that they weren't receiving by their pools, right?
Absolutely. They're getting revenue. I mean, think about it, most of these places are sitting dormant half the time. And so for them, it's revenue, but for a fitness center or a facility that does want people coming around, that's foot traffic for them as well. People coming in, maybe you never know, a parent who might say, well, I'm going to put my kid on the swim team and then go join the gym right here so I can be on the elliptical while they're there. I mean, they have to be on premise, on property, but gives them an opportunity to at least kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak.
What is the age range of your clientele?
So our target focus is, of course, on working with children because unfortunately they are the ones most in danger of drowning. The stats are out there and pretty distressing. That's what we're here to take away. Basically, drowning is the number 1 cause of fatality for children under the age of 4, and it's the number 2 cause of accidental death for children above the age of 5. So because of that, we focus on children ages 0 to 9, youngest being 3 months, that you can actually have a child learning how to float in the water. And then, we say 9 years old, but certainly they can extend further into that. That's what every owner is going to focus primarily, but we do have additional programs that our owners can choose to add on if they see the need or the demand within their community. So we do teach teenagers. In fact, we're very proud that we have a young adult program. We're one of the only schools really that have this. And it allows us to be able to cater to children between in those teen and tween years, where they're, of course, a little more peer pressure and a little more embarrassed to be with the babies, but mortified to be with the adults. We want to give them that safe space to learn in. We do teach adults. In fact, as a fun fact, a lot of our owners that are in our system come in saying, I don't know how to swim, but I understand why I should and why this can be so scary. We have a special needs, special abilities class as well, our dolphin program. So it allows us to focus, singularly, whatever the need, whether it's physical or neurodivergent, to just make sure that they have that safe space too. And then seniors, of course, can be included in our adult classes, but we do have a really fun aqua active class. So it allows a little more exercise and movement to be the focus, but it's still speaking to our core because, seniors are just like children. Motor skills, they need to keep those active in order to be able to really, be safe in the water. So it's keeping them in that, kind in those conditions or in those areas, maintaining the skill of swim sharp, but also, helping out with the achy breaky bones a little bit too.
Well, I love the fact that you have such a range and have all these different classes because it does, genuinely make you community based. And I will say, watching a 3 to 6 month old fall in the water and turn around and float, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But it's so important for them to know how to do that because, to your point, it's one of the leading preventative causes of death. And I mean, but it's just mind blowing to watch this tiny little human who can barely walk be able to know how to swim. It's really crazy. We've had friends that their kids have gone through the program, and it's really impressive.
Well, on that note, obviously not all of the owners know how to swim, like you said, but so who are the instructors? How do you find those?
So, I mean, instructors are actually not as difficult to find as most may believe. In fact, I'll be frank with you, the core base of your instructors are going to be very youthful folks themselves. In most states, the age of 15, you can get a lifeguard certification, which is something that we're going to want you to have at least a couple of staff members, to basically have a certification as a lifeguard for safety, purposes. We never want to depend on a facility directly. We want to make sure we're providing that as well. So you might find yourself having quite a few teenagers, upper juniors and seniors in high school, college kids, to fill in the instructor roles. And then we also have a role called a deck ambassador, which is to essentially be traffic control outside of the water and pool. Every 15 to 30 minutes, you've got parents and students showing up for classes. So you'll be hiring in that. We have a fantastic training program in place so that they can, through virtual modules and, of course, hands-on, learn the appropriate ways to teach. And because our program is set to be, these small groups, 4 students to 1 instructor, 30-minute lessons, and we are structured to be goal-oriented, not date-oriented. And what I mean by that is we are not setting a class that starts September 1st and September 30th, and then the child must learn in that time. And if they don't, oh, sorry, they have to retake it. Instead, we've got goals in each class that must be met, 5 goals to be specific. Once the child meets those goals, they are able to then move on and graduate to the next class. So we're keeping them in rotation and movement, not holding them back unnecessarily or pushing them forward when they're not ready either. So that allows a lot of movement at all times. And so your instructors, when they're learning and getting, trained on what they need to learn, it's very easy because it's very specific, to what the program and structure of our classes are.
Okay, so one of the objections I get is that I don't think I have enough tools that I could utilize. So what kind of territory are you looking for?
Well, when we create a territory, we're looking for 2 important factors. One, we want to make sure that you have the children to work with. So, of course, we're going to look at the demographics and make sure that you've got a substantial amount of households with children ages 0 to 9. The second thing is we do want to ensure that you obviously have pools. No pools, no work. So we already do a soft search and vet to see how many pools are available. And frankly, between 2 to 3 pools, you've got options, within that territory. And that'll allow you, to start with one and potentially maybe scale into another. And sometimes additional pools pop up, at a local level, boots on the ground. You might have access or become privy to, a hotel being built or a community center that doesn't have a lot of information online, but for a fact has some lane pools and availability that you might be able to access. So we'll work together to see what can be done on that end. But there's, definitely what we want is, of course, just to be able to give you options for having multiple pools if you choose to, or at the very least being able to have an offset, a couple of days here, a couple of days there, and leaning into those different communities within that territory.
And
Okay.
then talk to us a little bit about the investment range.
So for us, we say, on the safe side, of course, is about that 150 mark, which is beautiful because again, it keeps us in that low investment range. What we're considering in that 150 is, of course, your franchise fee, but additionally, a full year of marketing is part of that. And with the power of Buzz Franchise Brands, we offer a full in-house support with marketing. So when it comes to digital, direct mail, graphic content, social media, content, all of those things, we're helping our owners with it. And then we're also helping them to have whatever they need for local marketing efforts, events or partnerships that they may, acquire at a local level. So all of that is included in the investment. And then we've also calculated, what they might need for labor, equipment, of course, making sure that they've got pool rental set aside. I mean, it's a safe space to be in, and then making sure that they've just got whatever they need for their startup phase.
Well, what I love about this business is it's what I would refer to as a cash flow friendly business model because you don't have a whole lot of overhead and you're bringing money in before your money's going out to pay the instructors because parents are paying for the class up front, correct? So it's definitely structured to where it's one of those cash flow friendly business models, which I like a lot.
Awesome. Well, I touched a little bit on some of the returns posted in your item 19. So those are some pretty big margins. What can you tell us about that? I know that's a tricky thing that you're able to talk about, but tell us a little bit what you can say.
Yeah, so when somebody gets a look at our item 19, whether they're looking at averages or they are taking a look at, our top performers, I mean, these are multiple pools. I mean, our average franchise owner has at least 2 pools. What you're seeing, encompassed in it, if you look at the pool rental, for example, an average territory, the pool rental for 2 pools is about 109,000 for the year. That is unheard of. For anybody that knows about brick and mortar costs, like that's not at all going to be what your expense would be on you owning a pool or renting out a space. So when you compare that with what's coming into the business, of course, you'll see that your overhead expenses or the recurring costs of the business, they're not as high as most people would think. I mean, obviously, labor is going to be quite high. It's as with any business, labor is always a high point. Cost of goods sold for us, it's our services. So it's going to be that pool rental and labor. But then when you look at, again, your operating expenses and what you have over the business, marketing, insurance, most people have such a concern. Oh, with this type of business, well, am I going to spend $1 million on liability insurance? Absolutely not. That's not what you need because, again, we don't own the facility. We're just in partnership with it. So we have found a really efficient and really great way of being able to not only invest, but maintain the business. Your highest expenses are going to be labor and then marketing, as are most businesses, as you guys well know. So it's really not going to be something where you're going to have, a specific touch point outside of that is going to be what's going to lead in. Now, some of our owners do in time decide, yeah, actually, I want to have my own pool, and they build it out and evolve into that. And we highly encourage it when we feel, yes, your business is robust, your community is engaged, that will only benefit you to go ahead and add that on. You'll see the expense of that return to you pretty quickly. Then that's when we'll advise for that.
So who are you looking for as an owner? Do you have a specific type of avatar?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you mentioned it yourself earlier, Matt, community. Community driven and community based is going to be essential with this for multiple reasons. Number one, you have to build these pool partnerships and relationships, and you've got to have a good relationship with the management or owners that you're working with of these facilities. Number two, what you're doing, You know, we're so mission based, we're so purpose driven. I mean, we're literally in the business of attempting to save lives, you know, and our business doesn't focus just first and foremost on swim. We actually focus first and foremost on survival. Then we move into swim. So we want to make sure somebody understands how to speak on that message and drive that home, you know, to their community. But remember, at the end of the day, we're also asking people to trust us, either with their own lives or their children's lives. It's a very dangerous, it's a very scary thing to say, yes, here, take my child that does not know how to swim and, you know, put them into this water and teach them and show them. It can be very nerve-wracking for some parents, or nerve-wracking for the student themselves if they're, you know, of age to be able to really consciously understand what's going on. So we want to ensure that people realize, hey, this is a locally owned business and operation, you know, from somebody that understands and cares and just wants to create more safety. You know, and with the stats being what they are in drowning, we really want to drive home. We're here to take that away. We don't tell people this information to instill fear. We're telling them because we're here to remove that fear. We're here to bring that in. So, an owner that really understands the messaging and how important it is to really drive home our purpose, that's the first thing. Knowing how to swim, as I said, is not even important. Having had that swim experience, being an instructor in the past, those things are lovely if you've had them, but they're not necessary. Business ownership skill, you don't ever have had to, you know, own a business in the past. We're going to teach, we're going to guide, as any proper franchisor will do. We're going to show you what you need, you know, from business training, aquatic training, everything. Every step of the way, you'll have us and our support to make sure that you're being set up for success. So I can't emphasize enough that it's more so just understanding the mission and really feeling it at your heart. Then, you know, of course, everything else will come into play.
Well, thank you, Rita. We love this brand. Like you said, low investment, cash flow friendly, high margins. We love it. So if you have any interest and you want to know if your territory is available,
Shoot me a text at 270-215-2844. I'll get with Rita and the team, make sure it's available, and then we'll talk through the next steps.
well, thank you, Rita.
Thanks,
Thank
Rita.
you guys. Thank you.